on Wednesday. Now Wednesday, do anyone remember what I asked you all to go and take a look at for the rest of the weekend? Be prepared to share share those things. Anybody can give us an update or tell us what we were supposed to do for the next couple of days.
Let me see now, said the blind man. I wasn't sure, but I think your question was 4 words. It was comfort, control, approval, and money. And I think you asked what is the least give that you would give up?
Yes.
So I'm thinking you're saying, what would be easier for you to give up? Is that what you're saying?
No.
It's what's the hardest?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I had it backwards.
It's all right.
Because the hardest to give up to me, I said comfort. But then there's just so much to think about in them 4 words. Comfort, control, approval, and money. When I looked up comfort, it said to call alongside, to be strengthened, to encourage, and to give hope. And looking at that, my thinking, I understand what the meaning of comfort is saying, and then it also, I went to 2 Corinthians 1:3.
Okay.
And it talks about comfort and how God gives comfort. And it tells about the force to endure trials. But before I looked it up, I was thinking about my comfort zone. Like I don't like to speak in crowds, something like that. And I don't like to be in a certain place where I don't feel comfortable, and I don't like for anybody to like intrude on my comfort.
That's it. Gotcha.
And that's the way I was seeing it.
Okay.
And then that led me back to, well, it seems like I'm trying to be in control. And so with the money part, I said, well, if I'm comfortable, and then when I look at it, God's gonna take care of my needs, I'm okay with that. And then it took me back to approval. Are y'all gonna approve of what I'm saying? I want y'all to approve, and I want to be approved of. So it just gave me a lot to think about.
Man, that's all right. I did the same thing. That was good. That was good. Anyone else? Ray, you got something? So, those comfort, money, approval, control. Which one are you more hesitant to give up for Christ?
I agree. I know this kind of falls into what Adrian said Wednesday. I think the control thing is a problem because even though you know you ain't got no control, you get reminded every day that there's stuff happening that you can't control. But I think if we really look at it, we try to control stuff as much as we possibly can. And it gets to a point of like, even like she just said, to the approval thing and other stuff, because guess what? Part of your reason to want to control stuff is you like having a predictable outcome. Why? Because it makes you comfortable. And I think sometimes that holds us back because we don't do stuff because we don't know the outcome. So we don't want to get in it not knowing how it's going to exactly turn out.
Okay. Anyone else? What you struggle with giving up? What you more hesitant? Jamal?
Yeah, I go. Yeah, I would say for me, out of the 4, maybe between control and comfort. I know I struggle with those still. And give you an example. Rasheen be texting saying his girlfriend need a ride or need to be picked up for work. But it's like 12 something at night and she live in Dawson. And I gotta get up early in the morning, get up in the morning for work. And I'm like, I don't really want to do it. But I know, someone that's in need, and, he asking, for a ride for his girlfriend. So I get up and try to do it, but I don't feel like doing it all the time.
Man, what you good? My phone is
You had it till you said Dawson.
Yeah. Yeah, Dawson. Yeah, he got to drive in.
That's what I used to tell Reagan. I told her several times when she was up there, 5 hour ride up there. Oh, it's not that bad because you going one way. I got to go back. 10 hours with me. Gotcha. Anyone else? I know even those who didn't. What do you think? What's more? One of the things you struggle with? You feel like you would struggle with out of the four. Anybody else? Jane? They even told me that I had to share too, but she's not even here. Yes, sir.
The approval, I think, because I'm not looking to be approved by anybody other than Christ. But when you're dealing with people, they tend to put due pressure on you that you didn't ask for. But then you find yourself trying to live up to when you should be living up to Christ. So I try not to worry about the approval part. Get a better comfort with Christ, and then everything else will be taken care of. So those two, the control and the comfort, is going to be at the top. But if you can get past those and you're focused on Christ and his instruction and the rest of it, that comfort that you and him got, take care of the rest of it. I think greed is the least of it. But greed is generally the one that gets most people in trouble. Being greedy. Don't worry about greed. You and Christ are good. Y'all got that relationship. Y'all got that I don't know if that's a good word to use, that comfort zone between the two of y'all. Yeah. Why you ain't got to think about greed? Because he tells you, with him, you got everything you already need. Almost. If that relationship is right.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. Anyone else? Well, I'm gonna say as far as with the money, because now y'all, everybody who got a child know this. Your money is your child money. The way they look at it, right? God money is my money, so I don't worry about the money. That's what I told somebody. I said,
Worry about money.
huh?
I didn't worry about money.
Nah. That's what I told. So I was still talking to somebody, and they was talking about the money, the stuff I'm doing. So you just assume I got money, because you see what you just, that's an assumption. You don't know what I got. But I told them that I said, well, this is how I answered. I said, well, God have allowed for me to have certain abilities. I know how to go get money, you know. So I wasn't gonna agree with him and say that I got some joke, right? Cause he got it all. If I'm part of him, then he said, you got that connection. I don't worry about the money. And then the control, I understand where y'all coming from as far as with the control. Man, here she come. As far as with the control, I honestly I believe it's easier for us than what we think, and I think that we pay attention to what we do. God don't want us walking around here being no dummies. So we gotta make plans, we have to prep, we have to prepare, we have to make, you know, certain decisions. And I think, you know, if you live in a godly, a righteous, because righteous means you're on the right side of God, I'm gonna put it that way. You live in a righteous life, you're gonna make decisions based off your experience and wisdom from God. So I feel like that control it may not be as bad as we think that it is. I think when it comes down to when it comes down to doing the work of the church, the work for God, and then we want to control stuff. That's why some say that I go along, because if it's not wrong, I'm not gonna stop God from doing His work. So I don't want to be in control, so to speak, of that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
James, but he won't cut me off so bad. Hey, you know, I can share my stuff, but James won't let me. Go ahead, James.
I was just telling you.
No, you burning back there, man. Go ahead, James. It's all right. I'll get back up, I promise you.
It'll fall in line. It's just going back to the greed part, the money part. Like on my job, you know, guys say, I like you don't want to make this money because, you know, they all chasing them $5 loads. I don't chase it. Because I understand what goes along with that $5 load. And I be trying to get them to understand $5 load ain't always the best load.
So that's going with a little more drive time, a little
Live
more.
over everything. And if they say, you know, you'll give up loads, say, well, no, let this one get it, you know. He ain't been long start working. So let him have it. They say, you do those things. I said, well, cause y'all gotta understand. Y'all saw the new, these are some of the new drivers. So y'all saw the new right here. Everybody out right here knows me. They'll tell you, I'll tell them, this job is not what takes care of me. It's a means of taking care of me. And as time goes, you'll probably understand why I say that. Because, like I say, I depend on the Lord, not the job. So it might seem as though I'm making all the money, I'm making, you know, but I'm just like everybody else. I make paycheck. I just don't worry or go after it like everybody else. But now don't get me wrong. I got here from experience. I went through this. You know, I broke a relationship with the Lord, chasing them dollars. Didn't do no good. Got me in trouble. Got me without a job. You know, got me homeless for a minute. I know it. So when He gave me an opportunity to get back to where I'm at, I give Him all the credit. There ain't nothing that I've done. All thing I done was I didn't turn my back on it. Even though I went through those things, I stayed faithful to it. I didn't turn my back on it. So now, my job is to share with others how I got to this point and what y'all are talking about and what y'all are seeing. That's y'all might not understand when I say my job is to share this with y'all. Because He gave me something. Now I have to take what He gave me and give it to somebody else. You know, but you know, again, still don't sit well because I'm in a different place than they are. They still don't really understand what I'm saying. But, you know, you just say, you sound like you don't worry about nothing. I ain't got nothing to worry about. Now, if you give it enough time, and I can sit down and tell you from 95 up until now, what I don't went through, you understand why. I ain't got nothing to be sad about. And why you can always see me with a smile on my face. And you give me enough time, I talk to you there.
All right, Jay. Adrian, you missed out on half of mine, so I'm not gonna go back.
You talking about greed?
Approval, that's one that, I don't think I pay much attention to, I don't, you know, sometimes we'll say we don't care what people think about us, but sometimes I think that we really do. But when it comes down to doing God's work, I don't do it for nobody else's approval. Because I know, I understand that, you know, God created all us differently. He created all us for a purpose. And I know we know that. The Bible shows us and tells us that, you know, we can have Satan in the midst of all of us right now. And it's a purpose for him being in the middle, right? Don't we read about that throughout the Bible? So it was Judas. We said a lot of folk that God used in a negative way, but we view it in a negative way, but he did for something good. So being concerned about what people think about, I don't think they're on my radar. So mine is comfort. I don't like such stuff. And I know that's one that God's working on me hard with. Because with some stuff I'm just getting back, you know, this is and I used to do this in high school. I caught myself doing this in high school. Everything I was talking about this house. Just because I ain't want to do with everybody. Is there anything, is something wrong? So that comfort and getting out and doing certain things, like Sister Sam was saying, she don't like being in certain places. I understand. I completely understand. We used to deliver some fuels over outside of Nate Hunter. Out there over that way around on the east way on it's a couple hours.
Near Bronx. Just say near Bronx.
Huh?
Just say near Bronx.
Yeah, it's out there in between somewhere. That's like, yeah. But it was just one place that we used to, you know, unload. And you know, there's no line. And I used to start early in the morning. That wasn't comfortable. You know, not being able to see nothing but no more than the little light that you had right in front of you. So I would switch that up so I wouldn't have to be out there in the dark, you know what I mean? So we try to, I guess, control that however we can when it's something that we don't, that's outside of our comfort zone. So when it comes down to doing the work of God, to the gospel, I think that's one of those things that challenge most of us is getting outside of that comfort zone. That's one I think that most of us probably don't do well. I know Ada said her with control, but I don't. So, okay. All right, anyone else want to share before we move on? All right, good. Y'all know I raised a question when we started Wednesday. The difference between a believer and a disciple. Y'all remember that? Yes.
Yes.
No, I know. Well, the ones who wasn't here, we was talking about the difference between a believer and a disciple. So these are the difference. Some said yes, some said no, some said maybe. I might be lying on some folks. Or whatever, but is it a difference? Or is it the same? I know that we said, you know, a believer is a disciple. I wouldn't say that's not true. is it a difference between a disciple and a believer? Well, I bet.
Yeah, after the discussion, it really depends on the definition that you're using and the way you're looking at it.
Okay.
Because I assumed you were saying a believer of Christ.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's all I'm talking about.
But then you could be talking about a disciple of Christ.
Okay, so is it a believer of Christ, disciple of Christ? If you wanna add that in.
But they both could be believers and, I mean, you could be a believer and a disciple of Christ, and so that's the same. But if you are a believer of Satan or a disciple of Satan, or vice one or the other, like it could be different.
Okay.
Like they're
So-
both followers of something.
Okay, so regardless of whether it's, we talking about Christ though, but let's say it is Satan. What's the difference between Satan's disciple and Satan's believer? Or is it a difference? I promise you, it's,
Well,
I'm
and
not
it
trying
might have to do with what Adrian said about believing in something, like having a thought,
Okay.
then having an action. And you can believe in Christ, like having, but faith without works is dead. So if you believe but you don't work, you know what I'm saying? Like, that could be the difference.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Well, I think that, you believe, but if you're a disciple, that means that you work, you follow. So what I feel like that is, you would have to be a believer in order to work for God, or to follow His word. You have to be but to be a disciple, you have to work and you have to follow.
Did y'all hear what she said? She said you have to work and follow. And belief comes in with that as well, right? Yes, sir.
I think being a believer or follower or disciple, it's kind of like believing, trying to get to a destination. The goal is heaven. You don't believe that you can't get there. You will never make it because you don't believe in the destination unless you're not willing to follow through on that journey.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
She said it all.
Huh?
The way you said it all, I'm kind of the same thing. Like, you know, they go hand in hand.
You know, that they go hand in hand. You can't be, you definitely can't be a disciple without being a believer.
Okay.
You know, like she said, in order to be the disciple, you gotta be a believer. Because being a believer and then disciples are the ones that will go out and teach and preach the gospel, you know, because that's what Christ chose for us to do. So if you're not a believer, how can you be a disciple? So, just like she said, they just go hand in hand. You can't think you have one without the other.
Okay. Jamal?
I just have a question. What qualifies you as a to be a believer?
That's my question.
For anyone?
For anybody, okay, he said, what qualifies you to be a believer? Anyone? Jamal, it makes me think about, what did Jesus tell his disciples?
Mhm.
What was his command for them to go do? After he
Go out and teach the world.
go out and teach the word, and to make it so. This is what I'm just to bring it in. What I'm trying to say is, okay, he told them to go and baptize, then teach, or teach, then baptize. How did he word
Paul's question, I think you can be a believer without being baptized. Baptism is that step of commitment toward being a committed believer or committed follower. And there's a clear, distinct difference between the two.
Charlie, what he said. That's one of the main points I'm trying to make. We have a lot of folks who believe, and that's fine, that's good. We always there, you have to be there, or whatever. So, I ain't nothing to out what you all are saying, it's not wrong by no means. But it can be a difference. All at the same time, you know, it still gotta be tied in, because we do have people that go their entire lives just believing. Don't know work ever come about. When we look at disciple, we break down, the definition of disciple, one that learns, a student of. You can't, do anybody feel like they got all of this? Anybody? Anybody read through this whole thing? No.
I read through the whole thing.
No.
I have read it.
Jamal put his hand up saying he read through the whole thing. I'm personally, I cannot say that I have read through the whole Bible. I cannot say that. You had, gotcha.
At one time, it was one of the requirements in class. We did it.
Yeah.
From front to back. But, even in that same process, I read it, and then turned around and went back and read it again. And read something totally different.
I know that. That's just what it, yeah.
And then you go back and read it again, and still doing something different. But I think in the process of reading it, every time you read it, you get more knowledge. Because it changes where you were the first time you read it. You know, it puts you in a different place the next time you read it. So, like you said, just reading it front to back, and you know, just, if it don't do anything, you get the same thing when you go back the next time and read it. Something happens.
Everybody who have read, just to get off, we're not getting off, but just to step off the side just for a minute. Is it any story in particular that you can think of that was like, or like that didn't make sense? What is it, any story in the Bible, anything that just stuck? The very first time you read it? Anybody? Ray? Ray, yeah. That's it.
Okay, so there's two, because I think you know about the first one, the whole Lot's wife and the pillar of salt.
Okay.
That always stuck with me, just because, like, did she turn around literally, or did she turn around, like, figuratively? So that story always sticks with me. And then the whole, like, is it bow? That story.
What about it? Don't make sense.
That whole entire, like, section of that time period doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, man. Anyone else? Sister.
When I read the Bible, the thing that impressed me the most was the beginning. Like, the Garden of Eden and everybody, the first creation of everything. That probably really, for me, I liked that part of it. And then the next part was in Acts, and all was converted. That was good.
Good story. I agree. Oh, yeah. Go right ahead on.
Solomon's Gomorrah is Bible.
Okay.
In fact, a lot of people misunderstand that story and what it's really talking about. because when you put it together then, and you put it together now, we're dealing with the same thing. Morals. Morals of people have got so jacked up. Same way back then. The morals of people had got so messed up. And he said, enough is enough. So how far are we now from enough? I can say a lot of people read that story, but I don't really think they understand that story and what he's really talking about.
I would, and I'm gonna say, James, that, you know, that was a story that was, just, I don't say he put a pin on that story, but that was going on all over. Still going, from the end of the time, still going on. You know, and I would go as far as to say, he already have said, enough is enough. You know, even when it comes down to that, we look at it as a, you know, he destroyed this whole place. Okay, but can we do individuals sometimes? As he did the same thing with us individually. Locally, they don't always have to be. So I get you, we don't, there's a whole lot to think about lessons that we can pull from, stories like that. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of stories stick out. I guess the one that made my mouth drop open was whenever this group of men wanted to pull the men out of the house and have sex with them. Like, I mean, back then, the whole group out there saying, yeah, let's have sex with another man, like, I mean, I just didn't understand. I mean, I know everything that we're going through now has already happened. But it seems like there was a time, I guess, when I was, well, I've been alive, that if you were homosexual, you kept it in the closet. Like, back then, it was a whole group saying, let's do it. Like, everybody out there agreeing. Like, was there one person in the group that was like, nah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's we have to think about, some of the tech folks and the fashion folk can shed some light on this. You know, they say that we the last to get certain stuff, right? What's the latest iPhone? Huh? 17?
I got it.
17.
See, I don't know about it. But somebody probably got 18 right now, right, Greg? Oh, okay. Well, how long was it before we got to 17? Man, I'm just. iPhone 6. That's all I don't have. But what I'm saying is, Adrian, you know, even with that, and I ain't trying to, it just some stuff we have to think about as well. What if that was just a thing? You know, everybody in this area, you know, that's what it is. You know, somebody, matter of fact, now I know I made them mad because they couldn't say nothing because, you know, like you just talking about in your time or your day or where you from, you kept that in the closet, you hid and stuff, right? Okay, but nowadays we have decided to accept certain things. So we made this stuff open and all of that, right? So I'm just saying, what if in that time, in that location, that was just a thing? I mean, the way the story is shared, it's like, it's just a thing, you know, but on the other side of town, man, we ain't never heard nothing about nothing like that, you know? So.
So like if you was out there in the group, I'm thinking, if you was out there in the group, like, I ain't doing that.
But listen, check this out though. Last couple Sundays ago, me and Ray were riding, right? Ray, what all did we see on Snap, on Saturday? All kind of stuff, was it? And it was a Sunday. Yeah, all kind of stuff. Ray told me, she said, I promise you, if we live somewhere around here and I saw, I'll be begging y'all every day to get out of here. But I told her, I said, you can't say that. Because the only reason why that stands out to you because you were never around it. If you grew up around that, that's just a thing, right? So we gotta keep that in mind. And I know if I was back then, man, I'd be scared on myself. But they try to yes, ma'am.
A cell phone, a mobile phone, does not mean a whole lot to me because I remember party line. You all remember party line? Where everybody, you have a two party line or a three party line, it be 2 or 3 different people, you don't even know the people. You get to know them because, because sometimes you have to go in and say, well, will you get off the phone for a minute, let me call my doctor or call my.
Really?
So, a cell phone to me.
I'm only 8.
I use it, but I don't use it for what a lot of people use it for. I use it for conversation. I don't use it for I don't use it for that.
Gosh.
And I don't like for anybody to think that, say, you can do this or that or the other phone, but I can't do that because I don't.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm 80 years old. And you got a lot of
Oh, man. Anyone else? So yes, ma'am.
The one that really got my attention was, when David had the affair with Bathsheba and how he got caught up in all that. And it just really stuck out with me, and our stuff will come back.
Okay, anyone else?
I think the one that Howard, had in his message a couple of weeks ago about the man having the concubine, and he sent her out and they ended up killing her, and then he cut her up in a bunch of pieces and sent her all over the country. I know the first time I read it, I was like, why? And not just from the part of him cutting her up after she's already dead gone, but just, hey, you sent her out there.
The story of Samson is one of the best one of my favorite. You don't see that? Yeah, that was really good, and I even it's just and I know there's a woman that caused him to get off, but it's all kind of little stuff that can cause us to get off. God has showed you that as long as you have this hair on your head, you got this strength. But you're gonna listen to somebody else over God after he shown you over and over. And I think about that with us as whole, as people. God get us out of stuff, for us to experience some stuff. We ain't right back up in it, though.
It's so many good ones in there. Like, think about in the lion's den, when you just don't go, you just murder the lions. Or try to fight the lion, like, the good is slingshot. Like, it's just so many. Good ones. But taking your child out and sacrificing. Like, if you say, Raven, come on, let's go up and cut it off. Like,
I wouldn't do it that easy. I said, please, if it means I'll do myself. I don't think I'd be that easy going as Abraham.
but I mean, I think what he's trying to tell us is if you believe, if you truly believe, he's gonna take care of it. Like, how many of us really get that, really embrace? Do it the way he said, not us, the way he said.
Joe, Jamal, you got something?
Yeah, I got one.
Joe, let's get Joe first. My man is Joe. Joe had it going on.
Joe crazy, what?
Say what?
Joe crazy.
No. No. But Satan got with the Lord or God and Satan said, I'm gonna make Joe cuss you. I mean, everything that Joe went through, he hung in there. His friends, his wife, I had smacked up, cuss God and get it over with. Are you serious? But then, you know, Job lost it all. Family, all his, everything. Money, animals. And then, his body broke down and he had all these sores on him. I had to go towel in then, you know. But Job hung tight. But then the best part about the whole story is how God blessed him. Everything that he lost, he got it back. Twofold. I mean, let's faith. Let's trust in God, man. To have it all, and then just fall all the way down. You know, we had to stand, like, you're so deep in the hole, you get to stand up and tiptoe and look around, and you still can't see nothing. But God brought him back. To me, this Job is the best story in the Bible, man. Yeah. Jamal?
I thought about King Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay.
You know, when he had that dream, he kept trying to find all these interpreters. Then when Daniel finally interpreted his dream for him, it served as a warning that he needed to, you know, stop doing what he's doing and get right. But he refused and was made like an animal. Had to go out in that grass and eat grass. Until his mind was restored. Then he decided to, you know, to do right. So I think about that one.
Yes. Anyone there? So some of y'all toss around that how they believed or whatever, right? And so if we take a believer and a disciple, because you got to start out, you got to have, you know, some faith, some belief in, you know, Christ, but you can't start, you know, it's a phase, I'm going to say, that we have to go through. So you have that believing phase, and then you get into a disciple. Of course, you don't. Well, I don't believe no more. Just don't work. That don't work that way. Do it. Job didn't do that. He Job. You know, he believed before. In the middle of his trials, he was still a believer, and he continued on thereafter. So the difference is one. Of course, they still the same, because if you're a true disciple, you got to be a believer, right? You do understand that, right? Okay. So, but we do have folks that just only believe, and by them just believing, they think that they're going to get the reward. So, Wednesday I used and I used Joe James. I shouldn't have used because he don't care for sports. The difference between a player on the team and a fan, you know. Don't y'all know some of these fans are so hardcore, they want to be like the player on the team. They want those same benefits and rewards of the one that's on the team. So that's that believer, just a believer. You know, I want all the benefits, but don't you gotta put in some work? Just like we talking about with this, we don't read certain stuff, and then Diane said you get something else out of certain stories you want to see read it again. So the disciple is one that continue to learn as a student of, cause we gonna leave here and still not understand everything in this. And I think that's by, design, because once you get to your max to the top, what you do? But I don't think we can get that, I don't care how much time we spend in it, because I feel like it's always gonna be another lesson, you know, here, that we can pull if we're intentional. I feel like we have to be intentional as well, and on what we are looking for or trying to figure out also. That makes sense? Cause I do believe that there's, Joe, how many stories or lessons, I'm gonna say, if you had to do lessons on Joe, how many lessons do you think you could pull from what you know about Joe? You go on and on, good. Yeah, you know. So a believer won't do all this. They just gonna, I believe, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but you can't call yourself a full-blown disciple. Either, if you just, you know, just believe. That makes sense. Any questions?
I think when you go back and you look at what's been given to us, right? Look at the plan of salvation. God is the one that's doing the action. He reaches out and puts the word where you can hear it. Then you make the decision to believe what you heard. So we stopped right there. We heard some word from God and we believe. Are we saved yet? So them other steps that keep happening, right, is the same thing that's happening after you believe, after you baptize. You still got to keep hearing the word. You still got to keep believing. You still have to keep going forward, confessing in front of other people about what you believe. And in that baptism act, you did it in front of everybody. You didn't sneak away and go be baptized. You're going to have to keep proclaiming him in front of everybody, whether it be through the action or the confession. And that's what he ultimately wants from us, is that we just keep repeating that process over and over.
Y'all, was there anything wrong with the Pharisees? You know, we read several places, where they kind of went back and forth with Jesus on certain stuff. I know one text he talks about them saying that they are disciples of Moses. With them saying that they are disciples of Moses, I know we gotta go. Why do you think they were so bent on carrying out things the way that they carried the things out? That they went against what Jesus was saying was doing. Why do y'all think they did that? Because they were a disciple of the law, of the old law, the old covenant. They were disciples of Moses. So the things that Jesus was bringing forth, they was against it because they were students of Moses. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't, want to, change over. So I guess that would be, I don't know, I ain't gonna say that. I changed my mind. But with them being disciples of Moses, it was hard for them to hear some of the stuff that Jesus talked about, or whatever. But still within that, wasn't something shared that the one was coming? And all this stuff he done showed them and taught them, and they still did. That one I know. Anyway, all right. Anything from anyone? Anyone want to add anything? Any questions? All right. So, I want y'all to tell me Wednesday, hey, are you a true disciple? Tell me Wednesday. All right, y'all. We have